Reflections from Torch Trust, focusing on Christian faith and sight loss.
Hello, and welcome to Reflections from Torch Trust, the show that focuses on faith and disability in today's world. I'm Marilyn Baker, and if you're finding January a little difficult, do stay with me for the next half hour as we reflect on how to navigate those January blues together. Because although seasons change, God stays the same. And as we begin today, let's hold on to that truth. January really is the heart of winter, and it can be felt most keenly in the middle of the month. In those first few days, many of us are still carrying some of the festive season with us. But by the second or third week, everyday life is well and truly back, and we've had some pretty depressing winter stormy weather, haven't we? Well, Christmas can feel like a distant memory, and spring, with its light and warmth, still seems a long way away. Seasonal affective disorder, often described as the winter blues, is a common experience in this part of the world, affecting many people. And if you're blind or living with another disability, those feelings can sometimes be even stronger. Well, joining us now to talk about how we can find moments of joy during this season is opera singer and psychotherapist Victoria Oruwari, here in conversation with producer Lynn Davies.
So it is January, which for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere is a very, very long month. We do broadcast in New Zealand, of course, and I'm sure all the Kiwis listening to this programme are really enjoying the summertime with lots of barbecues, but not really so in England. So I am really interested in looking into how we can cope with the winter blues. And I've got singer and psychotherapist and general friend of Torch, Victoria Oruwari, here with me. And first of all, what I would really like to know is the winter blues a real thing? Because some people swear it's made up.
Thanks for asking me here to speak about this. Yes, I would say that the winter blues is a real thing. I wouldn't say it's made up. There's first of all a practical reason for it. We all build up to Christmas, buy presents, make preparations, invite people round. December is essentially one of the most expensive months in the year. And after you've spent all that money, then you have to survive January until you get your, January salary. And at the same time, there's that other mental side, psychological side of things where you start to analyze, what have I achieved this year? What have I done with myself? Am I proud of where I am now? And we have this tendency to compare ourselves with other people and what they've done and what they've achieved and how that makes them a winner and us a loser. And that's also part of the problem when we start to self-deprecate and look at ourselves differently because of what the season, the significance of the new year brings. And that could also be a reason for people to feel quite down in January. If you're blind, it's quite a big thing as well, because isolation is one of the major side effects of being blind. If you don't have a community around you that is accessible and easy to reach out to, or you don't have enough people reaching out to you, you find yourself pretty isolated because going out when the weather is really bad, especially when it's snowing, can be really, really difficult.
Absolutely, I can attest to that. I grew up in Norway and we have a copious amount of snow in the winter. At least we used to before all the climate change started happening. And I was very cut off because I didn't even feel confident enough to walk to the supermarket. Supermarket deliveries didn't exist in Norway until a few years ago, and even now it's a very limited thing. So I had to rely on people to go shopping with me and to have food in the house, and it's very scary. So can you give some more examples then on how blind and disabled people, perhaps especially blind people though, are more affected by all of this than perhaps the average person?
I would say that blind people experience a deeper level of depression if their environment, like I said, is not an accessible one. So a lot of blind people, we all have social groups, and the friendships we make are probably either ones we met in school or at work or other places that we've been to. And the likelihood is that you have a friend in Manchester, you have one friend in Birmingham, one in Wales, and they're all so far away from each other. So you're thinking, okay, I do like hanging out with this person, but if I have to meet up with them, I have to make a plan, and transport has to align with the plans I've made so I can get there and meet them. But also, the environment around you, like when it's snowing, you can't just take yourself out for a walk, because what snow does is that it takes away your landmarks, where your white cane or any other aid you have might tell you where you are. Everything is covered under a blanket of snow, and you can't find your way. And I do also believe that snow affects echolocation, because I find that when I'm out in the snow, I can't hear things that I would normally be able to hear that tell me where I'm going. And everywhere just feels like this blank slate, and I'm just walking. And that can be extremely scary.
And especially in a country like England where snow isn't that common. So when it does snow, it is very different. I mean, in Norway, for example, snow does make everything sound different. It makes everything more difficult. But of course, we have ways of dealing with snow, which also makes it easier than it is in England, if that makes sense. So it is much more of a problem here, so to speak.
Definitely, because there isn't enough infrastructure on how to manage the snow.
So what can people do then? I mean, my immediate solution would be go to an all-inclusive resort in the Maldives for a month. But then, as we've talked about, money isn't
That would be
always
amazing, actually. We should lobby for this. Like, the next bill should say all blind citizens of Britain should be given a grant to get on a plane and go somewhere warm in January. Then everybody else who isn't blind would want to do the same thing, because we're not the only ones experiencing that level of depression. But that sounds like the sort of government that I would run if I was Prime Minister. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start the bill.
But no, on a practical level, what we can do to support ourselves in times like this is to establish a routine. Because I think the mind can wander to very dark places if there isn't anything positive to look forward to. So we find ways to create small positive sources of joy in each day. So what is it? I mean, do you have nice smelling house sprays that you can put around the house to make the place smell nice? What activities do you have? Do you listen to music? Uh, Perhaps a playlist that uplifts you, or a podcast that uplifts you, an audiobook that uplifts you. You could have a schedule for these things and kind of say, okay, I do this in the morning, I do that in the afternoon, I do that in the evening. But also, it's very helpful to stay connected. Either way, choose connection over isolation, because connection is what keeps us feeling strong and met. So, have a list of friends that you can reach out to, and have a plan that you guys will reach out to each other. Ask how you're doing, and write a journal, perhaps, a journal of gratitude. Because sometimes when everything feels really bad, it helps to look at some things that might be good that you're not paying attention to. And if you kind of give yourself that mindful moment where you're thinking, okay, I'm going to write 3 things today that I'm grateful for, it has a way of lifting your spirits and lifting your mood.
Yeah, because you actively have to look
Yes.
for things to be grateful for, don't you? And they don't have to be big things, right? So it could be, I'm grateful that my heating works
Yes.
today because it's a cold day, or I'm grateful for that cup of nice tea that I just had.
I'm grateful for that cup of tea I've just had. Oh, I'm grateful for the fact that today I can listen to the Archers reliably, so little things like that.
Because I think this whole gratitude thing can seem a bit sort of scary, because it's like, but they really don't have to be big things at all. It could even be that you felt 5 minutes of peace throughout the day, for example.
That could be something amazing as well. Or I'm grateful for this bath salt I got over the Christmas holiday because I can have a nice soak this evening. Anything can fall into a gratitude list.
Exactly. And I think that's really important to remember. But how about something physical as well? Like, for example, sunshine. I know as a totally blind person that even though I don't have any light perception, it makes a huge difference to my well-being. So maybe things like go out on your balcony when you know it's a sunny day, or standing by a window if you don't have a balcony or a way to go out. Could that be something to help as well?
Yes, I think people say that the sun does help make people feel better. And I'd like to believe that every house has a window. And if you can, find a moment to kind of sit by the window, read a book. Maybe that time you're listening to your audiobook or podcast or whatever, you can find yourself positioned somewhere where the light reaches you. And maybe you could just imagine you were somewhere else, like the Maldives, as you suggested. Um, because
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that next time I step out to stand for a minute in the cold. I'll be like, no, 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 this is the Maldives, guys.
yes, so that would be that would be lovely. And it's amazing the amount of things the mind can make you believe. And if we could just channel our minds towards believing the best of what we would like to happen, and focusing less on the things that we dread, that's also another way of dealing with January blues or January depression or seasonal affective disorder. Because at the end of the day, the winter solstice has happened, which means things can only get better. It's going to be cold and dreary now, and it will be the same in February, but hopefully in March, even sometimes in February, we get the odd warm day, don't we? Like 17 degrees. I mean, British definition of warm,
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah, of course, of course. And if 17 degrees in February would never have happened where I come from, I mean, that is that would be alarming. So yeah, even for me, that is quite it's I wouldn't call it warm, but it's certainly a step
Yeah.
up.
And I believe in the power of music. I mean, I'm a singer myself. I have backing tracks in my house, and I can just have a good sing. And there's nothing as heartwarming as a good sing, no matter what you think, your voice is like. Just, put on a record and sing along to it, because there's something quite affirming when you sing together with somebody else, even if that person is not with you in real life. Put on your favorite record and sing along to it. You might find it lifts your mood.
And how, because we've talked before about your faith and how you are always very sort of grateful for the goodness of God and how He has helped you. How does that help you through the winter blues or the seasonal affective disorder?
I would say my faith plays a massive role in giving me the will to go on. Today is one day, tomorrow is another, and God is faithful. God is there, even if there are times where things are a bit too quiet. I would like to be singing more and I'm not. So it's like, okay, I'm looking forward to what's coming next. So what faith gives me is the belief that things always will get better at times when they're not. And even when they are great, faith is also there to anchor me to the fact that life is forever a roller coaster. You're sometimes up and you're sometimes down, and be grateful for the good times. And even in the times that things are not 100% great, be grateful for the difficult times, because it's from the difficult times that we get to appreciate the good times.
As Victoria reminded us, we can sometimes be grateful even for the difficult seasons, because they help us recognise and appreciate the good times more fully when they come. And isn't that reassuring to know that whatever we're facing, God's goodness does not change? Now it's time for our thought for the week. Michael Stafford is also reflecting on January and how we can move through this season with hope, trusting that better days will come. It's read for us by David Shepherd.
Of all the months of the year, January can seem like the most dreary, as all the sparkle and joy of Christmas is past, and spring seems a long way off. January is named after the Roman god Janus, who is depicted with two heads, one looking forward and one looking backward. So this is a time of reflecting on the year that is past, and also looking forward to the season of spring, with its new growth and longer days. I think back to autumn, to the time when the colours of the leaves on the trees are amazing. Reds, yellows, orange, green and brown. A glorious sight. Yet one is conscious that a few weeks later all the leaves will have fallen and the colour gone for another year. The old year draws to its close, but in the new year there will be revival of life. All things will become new again. So we look forward and forget the drabness and cold of January, for spring will come and the whole cycle of life will begin again. Sometimes our lives seem drab and dreary, perhaps because of illness or loneliness or boredom. Shakespeare wrote in Richard III, "Now is the winter of our discontent." A camping equipment shop put a notice in its window slightly changing this famous quotation. "Now is the winter of our discount tents." Yes, you could buy a tent with a big reduction in price. But who would buy a tent in January unless they had faith and hope that in a few months there would be glorious hot weather to enjoy? According to 1 Corinthians 13, verse 13, faith and hope are two enduring attitudes of heart which God has given us to help us to look beyond present problems and see better things up ahead. God makes all things new and has promised that things will get better, perhaps in this world, but more especially in heaven, where Jesus is preparing a place for those who have faith and trust in him. The third enduring thing is love, which God has shown us in Christ and which we are to reflect in our attitude to others, so that we can bring light and joy to those we know who are suffering their winter of discontent.
I hope you're feeling a little more uplifted after our reflections today. Perhaps you're someone who enjoys winter with its quieter, more introspective qualities. But if you're not, it can be reassuring to remember that the days are already very gradually getting longer. And of course, if you're listening from somewhere like New Zealand, you may be enjoying summer right now and perhaps finding our winter reflections a little hard to imagine, or even experiencing those winter blues later in the year instead. Well, wherever you are and whatever season you're in, you're not alone. I'm sorry to say that we're out of time for this week, but we'll be back next week when we'll talk to blind author Alex Banwell. And don't forget, if you're blind or partially sighted and would like to learn more about any of the services provided by Torch, our client services team would be very happy to speak with you. The number to call is 01858 438 260. That's 01858 438 260. Or you can email info@torchtrust.org. You can also find us on social media. Just search for Torch Trust on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or YouTube. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reflections, and so until next time, from me, Marilyn, and everyone on the Reflections team, goodbye and God bless.
You've been listening to Reflections from Torch Trust.